So we began to consider the virtues of positive thinking last week. I believe that you've got notes handed out from last week. Is that right? Has anyone got notes? Good. Okay. So just a quick review of the notes. And the first aspect is that positive thinking is, of course, just a phrase. And the truth of the matter is one has to work really, really hard initially in order to change a mindset that has been habituated and which is reinforced by fear, anxiousness, insecurity, which, as I said, media reinforces so forcefully, unfortunately. And we have to undo that. We have to get into the think positive mode of thinking. So we have to give ourselves incentives for that. And the incentives include things like health and wellness. And the benefits of health and wellness seem to be a very major incentive, and correctly so. As you see in the notes there, it increases your lifespan, changes your mood states, is able to even out states of distress, even resistance to common cold, etc., etc. So I think that recognizing, believing, and hearing over and over again that if you're able to move into a positive disposition, you can actually affect your body positively, I think is a very good incentive. Of course, at the end of the day, that's only one amongst many possibilities in terms of what positive thinking can achieve for you. Ultimately, positive thinking changes the quality of relationships. And since relationships and connecting is the ultimate fulfillment aspect of life, then if you can alter that to the positive, you actually change your whole quality of life as such. And we identified some of the negative thinking modes like filtering and catastrophizing and polarizing and things like that. And you can just identify this as time goes on when you slip into those modes, because we may not be aware, mindful, conscious in a profound way at all times. Sometimes we're tired, sometimes we lose track, and then we have to regain our composure. So, if you want to change, you have to, in order to be able to be more positively disposed, you have to be a really alert person. A bit like anybody on a front line, whether that front line be a military front line or whether it be a strategic front line in terms of business or relational context, you have to be aware. And it's very, very important to catch yourself. And that's why I suggested last week that several times a day, just stop and ask yourself, what am I thinking about now? What is the ambience of my mind? And you have to try to alter that if it's not great at that very, very moment. And that should be done on a daily basis. And then we did a little meditation, and the purpose of the meditative visualization we did last week was very much to recognize that when we actually produce a positive thought process, we don't just do it for ourselves, but the truth of the matter is we create around us a spiritual comfort zone. And when we create around us a spiritual comfort zone, other people, their more subtle soul systems, pick up on it. And they feel comfortable in our presence. And because that is able to foster positive relationships, and that leads to ultimate fulfillment, it makes the quality of our lives that much better. So the importance of last week's exercise was to recognize that you actually create change in the world through the energy that you surround yourself with, through your thought processes, etc. Are there any questions that might arise from that little overview? Anyone not convinced that really by changing yourself, you do change everyone around you and change the world? I want you to embed that. I want you to believe that. I want you to take that on as an axiomatic proposition, that you, in your state, affect everyone around you, and not just yourself, everyone around you, and ultimately the multiplier effect to the world at large. Okay? So today I want to embark on another aspect of positive thinking. I have a profound belief, and this is exactly what is taught within the deeper Hasidic teachings of the Torah, that the best expressor of positivity is sharing, giving, contributing. When we are in a state of chesed, when we're in a state of contribution, when we're in a state of giving, in those circumstances, it is an automatic positive thinking process. Now, why is that the automatic one? There are many virtues in life. Why choose that particular one? And the short answer is that we're told in the writings, in Kabbalah, that chesed is the primary tool of creation. The verse is chesed yibana ha'olam, that Hashem created the world primarily with the tool of chesed. And chesed means that sense of outgoing, sharing, contributing, which I mentioned just a few moments earlier. And the idea being that if you and I can emulate creation, because creation itself is the process of giving, and since you and I are the microcosm, since Adam Harishon, human being, is a microcosm of Hashem, when you and I express that, we're actually totally in sync with creation. And that's why the feedback process is you feel good when you're sharing. You feel good when you're contributing. You feel good that you're able to make a contribution to someone else's life, whether it be with tzedakah, whether it be in terms of emotional support, whether it be in just a sense of presence with somebody. You feel good. Now, of course, the danger is, and many of you may be familiar with this, that some people therefore become fixated, addicted to being good people. What do I mean by that? You know, people who have a real need to help other people, that they themselves feel in some way lost if they're not in a state of helping. Now, I can think of much worse states in life, as I'm sure you can. But we have to be very aware, if we want to be optimal, that giving and sharing is always for someone else, not for us. In passing, only in passing, do we gain benefits from it. But we don't go out to help someone, for example, in order to get kudos from it, in order to be complimented, in order to use that as an exploitative mechanism to shore ourselves up, to create self-worth artificially that way. As I said, there are worse things in life you can do than be addicted to that particular posture. But I think that every one of us in the room is wise enough to recognize that when we are in a state of giving, it should be altruistic. And you will get back what you need to get back, because that's the way of the universe. But your motivation must be to share and give of yourself. Is that distinction clear? Are you able to understand the point that I'm making here? It's sometimes a little difficult to hear someone say, you know, you can be helpful and good, and yet it's self-centered and addictive. Because we always sort of say giving and sharing is always good under any circumstances. It is. But there are higher levels of altruism that we can actually make a contribution to when we are in active giving. You've heard me ask this before. Some of you might remember the answer. Maimonides gives 10 levels of prioritization of giving. What's the highest level of giving? Anyone?
Giving someone a job.
Say again?
Giving somebody a job.
Yes. The highest level, most people would say, is to give anonymously. Because when you give anonymously, you really have no, yourself, your ego is not involved. They don't even know who's receiving. So that certainly is a very high level of giving, to give anonymously. But it's the second of the 10 rungs. The bottom rung being giving and making sure that your name are up in neon lights so that everyone adores you, that you actually gave, etc. Now, when I say that's the lowest, that's still a total valid act of tzedakah and giving. Remember, we're talking about 10 virtues. None of these are bad. Now, before I go to your correct answer, which is that the top rung is to help somebody have a sense of personal worth. And how do you do that? In the act of giving them, to make them feel that they're not on the receiving end, you enter into partnership. So it's a little bit of different than what you said. The highest level that Rambam says of giving is partnership. And you become a silent partner with the monetary contribution, and the other one becomes the other 50 percentile active partner by actually carrying out the work, doing the job as such. So that's the highest level, because when you enter into partnership, you put the other one on an equal pedestal with yourself, although they are on the receiving end, in fact. Does anyone recognize that and see that? How important that is, because giving in a way which maintains the honor of the receiver. That's the highest level. Now, I'll just mention in this discussion a little segue. The Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, nevertheless, we should urge people to put their names publicly on their contributions to any causes and buildings and programs and sets. Why? If I've just said to you that that seems to be somewhere on the lower end of the scale of the worthy act of giving, why does the Rebbe say it's nevertheless important? Anyone want to guess? Absolutely. Because it encourages others. You set a trend. You become a trendsetter. So let me now tell you what may even be a higher level in our day and age, not in Maimonides' day and age, but in our day and age, the higher level is if a person is a humble individual who does not want to have his or her name in lights, who does not want to have his or her name attached to their contribution. They have to swallow their their anivut, their humility, and overcome that and actually put their name there, because in the knowledge that that will encourage others because you're setting a trend. Now, who's the example of that? In a sense, it's Abraham. Abraham was the epitome of chesed, giving, sharing. Of the three patriarchs, each one being an archetype of a quality, Abraham is the quality of chesed, giving. Yitzchak is the archetype of gevura, withholding, strength from within, management. And Yaakov is the archetype of tiferet, a blend of the two in terms of rachmanos. But we won't go there right now. So Abraham, who's the epitome of giving, what was his equal and opposite test that he had to carry out, which is totally contradictory to his nature? What was it? What was his supreme test? Being a ish chesed. Akedas Yitzchak. Taking his son to offer his son as a sacrifice, which is the exact opposite of what love, caring, sharing, contribution, softness is all about. And yet, he had to do that, and that was one of his tests. Of course, Hashem made sure that it was never fulfilled as such. It was a test of Abraham as such. So likewise today, when we are giving and sharing, contributing, the Rebbe said, we have to go sometimes to the opposite extreme and actually do something which is uncomfortable. Put our name to the act in order to show other people the importance of it and that I am proud to be part and parcel of that. Okay? So, today's little exercise is going to be one where the act of giving and sharing becomes the basis of positive thinking. The most powerful practitioner of positive thinking is the act of contribution. Because when you're sharing and giving, you're in an ultimate state of positivity, right in sync with the creation of the world. So that's going to be the basis of today's exercise. Are there any questions on this little introduction to today? Or any thoughts or contributions?
I want to know, where is the attending to the dead on that run? Because somebody that's dead can't thank you. So.
Just repeat that again. It was a little unclear. I understood it to do with someone who's passed away. What was it?
So attending to somebody that's passed away, where is that on the level of on the run 10 levels?
In other words, what can we do as an act of contribution to someone who's passed away?
going to a funeral of somebody.
Okay, fine.
Where is that on
Okay.
the rung of 10 levels of giving?
Okay, it's not expressed as one of the levels, but it's within the whole scope of it, obviously, because you're giving what you're actually contributing to a mace, to someone who's passed away, is that you are assisting them, their neshama, to have an aliyah, to raise their neshama to a higher level. So, for example, when you say kaddish for somebody, that effects an aliyah for the neshama, especially on a yortzeit. When you are at someone's levaya, someone's burial, you are assisting that soul in its difficult process of the initial stage of elevating beyond the scope of this world. This is a total contribution of your time and effort and kindness. So what the end result is that the soul of the mace, of the dear departed one, is elevated through your active contribution of time and effort and prayer. Okay. Any others? Micha, is that you seated there?
Is that what?
Is that you seated there that I sent a peaked cap?
Yes. What is it? I'm sorry. Yes, it's him. It's me.
That's me, yeah.
He's asking.
You go back. Yeah.
Very excellent. Good to see you, and it's good to see everybody.
I'm happy to see you too.
So, let us first move into a position of balance and equanimity through breathing exercise. Then I'm going to, because we've just had the experience at Har Sinai, everyone in the room has been climbing Har Sinai in the last several days, right? You've all been able to join Moshe Rabbeinu and receive the Torah again. The imagery I'm going to take you on is climbing a hilltop, climbing a small mountain. And you'll see where it will take us. So put everything out of your hands, put the notes on the floor, feet symmetrically on the ground. Put your hands on your knees and thighs. Back fairly straight without being too rigid. Head well balanced on your shoulders, because the head is a rather heavy part of the body. And gently close your eyes. And just focus on your breathing, gently breathing in and out, preferably through your nose. And just be aware of the air entering into your nostrils and the feeling of the air as it exits the nostrils. The coolness of the air as it enters. The warmth of the air as it exits. Cooler air entering, warmer air exiting. Deepening and slowing down your breathing, taking longer, deeper breath in and longer, deeper breath out. And allowing the in-breath to flow all the way down to your abdominal area by stretching out your tummy to receive the air, and then contracting the abdomen to push the air out. So as you breathe in, expand the abdomen to collect the air, and then contract the abdomen. So it seems like you're breathing through your abdomen rather than through your chest. The deeper and slower, the more effective. Slow, deep breath in, expanding the abdomen. contracting the abdomen to force the air out again, making the out-breath longer so that all the toxicity of the cellular activity can be exhaled from the body. I want you to imagine that you are on a beautiful spring day on a little edge of the sea where there's a hilltop. And there's a lovely, gentle, winding path that takes you up to the top of this hilltop. And you're going to be alone walking up this winding path. And I'd like you to do so. And as you walk up, you notice the sea in front of you, its intense blueness, meeting at the horizon, a beautiful pale sky where the sun has freshly risen, a little bit above the horizon. Continue walking, observing the greenness of the grass around you and some of the wild flowers that are beginning to open from the morning dew in which they were enclosed. And you feel so bright, so fresh, so happy as you continue to walk effortlessly this winding path upwards, gentle gradient, seeing the sea, the sky, and you're halfway, and you feel elevated. You can hear the seagulls. The warmth of the sun on your back as you're walking. Hear the gentle lap of the sea as it comes ashore. The gentle waves. And you're 3/4 of the way up. Now a beautiful view, much wider vista, the coastline in the distance. And as you're approaching the summit, there's a chair there waiting for you, a comfortable seat. Facing the sea, and you approach the seat, it's meant for you, and you sit down and look out how the sun has risen. It's now a little higher above the horizon. It's gently warm. The breeze is just cool enough to keep you comfortable. You are going to receive 3 visitors. One will be one of your parents, whether they are still with us or they have passed along above, but they will come and visit you. That will be one visitor. The second visitor will be a close friend, or as close a friend as you have. And the third visitor will be a workplace colleague or someone whom you work with in a voluntary capacity.
It's 19:30.
Or a fellow professional. They'll come one by one, and they're going to ask you for a gift, each individually. The gift is, what can you do for them in the coming year to make them happier people? And you're going to provide that gift to each one by one. And as you sit there, looking at the expanse in front of you, feeling very complete, very aware that you are unique and special, you hear the footsteps of your first visitor approaching, coming up to you, smiling, and asking you, would you give me a gift? Would you give me the gift of some contribution from you that will make me even happier in the coming year? Whatever that might be, tangible or intangible. And I want you to think for 60 seconds what you can give this parent over the next year in some shape or form. Begin thinking. And over the next 20 seconds, I want you to hear yourself sharing anticipation of that gift to your parent, committing yourself to it. Hear yourself verbally in your mind. Choose your words. Next 20 seconds. Your parent thanks you profusely. It's so beautiful to see them. Your parent now takes his or her leave with a smile and departs. As you sit in the chair, you look out again at the horizon. The sun has risen a little further up. The water is still deep and smooth and gentle as the waves lap the shore. The breeze cools your face as the sun warms your back, and you hear footsteps of your next visitor approaching. A good friend approaches you and asks you for a gift that only you can give. Please give me the gift of greater joy and happiness for this coming year. And I want you to spend 60 seconds thinking, what can I offer and give this person who is dear to me in some shape or form that will make him or her a happier person this year? And over the next 20 seconds, I want you to hear yourself verbalizing in your mind the contribution, the promise of that gift. Committing yourself to its contribution. Your friend thanks you profusely, smiles as you smile back knowingly, and begins to take your leave, walking away with anticipation. As you turn back to the sea, the horizon, the sky meeting the water in the distance, the sun having risen a little higher in the sky, still feeling that gentle breeze, feeling the warmth of the sun, and hearing the gentle laps of the water as it hits the sand, sinking in and receding. More footsteps. And a workplace colleague or a fellow volunteer or a professional you work with approaches. They may be even a relative stranger to you, but you feel you can offer something to them because you're special, as all of us are. And your colleague asks you, I may not know you so well, but I know that you can make my life happier. Please give me a gift that will make my life a happier one this year. Spend 60 seconds thinking, strategizing, what that gift could be. And over the next 20 seconds, hear yourself pledging that gift. Over the year, you'll make a commitment now to share something of yourself that will make this person a happier person. Hear your words as you express them in your mind. Your colleague is pleasantly surprised, never really expected a gift from you, and yet you're providing such a meaningful gift. He or she thanks you and takes leave, stepping away and down, out of sight. Here you are, on a hilltop, amidst nature, amidst beauty, feeling that you have contributed to the world in a meaningful way. When you find that there is still one more visitor, a surprise visitor, God is descending to meet you halfway on this hilltop. God descends and envelops you in a feminine embrace of the Shekhinah and begs of you, give me a gift. Make a contribution to me this year, whatever it might be, whatever mitzvah, as minor as you wish, whatever good act, whatever it takes for you to be my partner in the unfinished symphony of creation. Spend the next 60 seconds thinking, what gift can I give my partner, the Creator, in this huge endeavor, no matter how small it might be, no matter what the mitzvah may be? Think clearly. And now hear yourself addressing God, committing yourself to make a contribution of yourself in some shape or form, an act of tzavta, connection, source of mitzvah, no matter how small, during the course of this coming year. The Shekhinah rises from its embrace of you, returning to a reasonable distance, just out of sight, tantalizingly so, to give you the freedom of your own choices. And you look out, see, the color has subtly altered as the sun has risen higher, and there's a glistening of silver, and the waves have slightly picked up, as has the breeze, and there's a sense of movement and animation in the world, as your heart has moved you, as your soul has stirred within you. You're going to get up from your seat and begin to descend the same gently winding path. And as you walk down, you contemplate your experience at the top of the hill. How wonderful it is to be able to give and share. How that is central to the meaning of life. How you have been gifted with so much to give, of which only a small aspect are tangible gifts. By far the larger is yourself, the kindness of your words, the softness of your facial expression, the endorsements, the reinforcements of others. As you continue to walk down, you're over halfway, and the sea looks different from this angle, as does the horizon and the sky. Equally real, just different. And as you descend and are now reaching the ground again, back in reality, you are now on the stage which you will share your lines over the next year. The past Shavuot experience providing you with a platform to express your spiritual self profoundly in a beautiful world. Focus again now on your breath, here in the room, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, feeling the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils, the warmth of the air as it exits. Begin to move your fingers and your toes here in the room. Move your fingers now, move your toes. And when you feel ready, Gently open your eyes. It's nice and dark in the room at the moment. And slowly, David will turn on the lights. And we're back where we started, but not quite. We are different. We've made commitments, but commitments that in passing will make us happier people because we're acting so naturally in the act of giving, creating in passing an ambience of positive mindedness, positive thinking as it's called. But really what it means is to be the most natural human being in the world, totally in sync with the purpose of creation. David, can we have all the lights on now? Okay, now I can see you. Any feedback, any comments? Did you find it difficult? Were you able to find a contribution to each of those individuals and God? Okay. If you were to say one word describing that experience, what might that word be? Could some of you please just offer a word?
Peaceful.
Sorry?
Peaceful.
Okay. More?
Love.
Okay. More?
Meaningful.
Meaningful, right, yes.
Rewarding.
Rewarding, good,
Rewarding.
fine. Did anyone find themselves a little bit anxious in the process and maybe understand why? Okay, fine.
Actually, did find myself anxious in choosing. When I need to choose. Yeah.
In choosing, yes. Yes. Look, what the exercise does, it sensitizes us to our capacity in ordinary, everyday life circumstances to share of ourselves. And I find that if you can express one act of contribution in the course of the day, one act, which can be even as small as an acknowledgement, it makes a huge change to your sense of self. Now, as I said before, the purpose is not for yourself that you're doing this, but it does make a huge change. And since these several meditation sessions are dealing with how to create that positivity within you, that is the goal. And I'm saying to you that one of the products of this activity is achievement of this goal. Okay, so we spent another evening together at long distance. Next week we continue. It won't be the beautiful shores of Herzliya. It'll be somewhere probably in Yerushalayim next week. I'll see if I can find a Yerushalayim scene. So as I leave you, I'm going to take you outside. Once again, some of you have seen the beauty of the Herzliya beach, but why not see it again? And I want to wish you a beautiful evening and a beautiful life and a beautiful year.